Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin. Super excited to introduce you all to Debbie. This recording has been a long time coming. Thanks so much for being here with us.
It took us a while, didn't it? It did take a little while to be transatlantic, but thank you for inviting me on. We made it
Of
finally.
course. Oh my gosh, I love chatting with you. We were just gabbing away for the listeners before we got on. We just have so much in common. So I'd love for you to start off by just telling us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Debbie Bryan. So I live in the UK and I have two things at the moment, two projects. So one of them is I am co-producer and speaker curator for a TEDx, the very first one that we've had like in my local area. So I am producing that in just a few weeks' time on the 19th of June. And then my other work is I don't know how to explain it because it's just evolved, but basically I create transformation for women who've outgrown their identity and no longer want to be seen as the person they are, but want to step into their new identity. So, for example, I've got somebody who is a very successful business owner, but now really wants to explore the business side. It's an aesthetics business, so very successful in the business, but wants to explore the business side and franchising. So we're repositioning her as the person who can run a seven-figure business and from the franchising point of view. So it's something that I've been doing for ages, but never really owned it as such. So yeah, today I get to own it.
We're so happy to be a part of you owning your next
Yeah.
step, right? Evolution in your own business too. Can you tell us a little bit more about what identity means to you? Like when your clients come to you, are they normally in distress? Are they just starting their business? Or are they in this pivotal moment that you just described, or maybe all of the above?
They're not usually startups, so they're usually people that are already really successful in what they're doing. There may be like 40s onwards who have a great business, but maybe are looking at a different way of working. So, for example, my client who has an aesthetic business, she has 7 businesses, but she's very hands-on. So she did aesthetics. People wanted to learn how to do the aesthetics, so she set up a training academy. Then people wanted to know where to get the product, so she set up a wholesale. So she's very entrepreneurial. But she's got to a stage now where she recognizes that actually she doesn't necessarily want to be in the treatment room all the time. She wants to help other business owners. And she's recognized that all those people that are doing in her academy don't really know how to run a business. They learn how to do the treatment, and she really wants to give back and wants to be passionate with that. So that's one of my clients. Another is a HR lady. She's been corporate, global, worked with huge companies, doesn't really want that lifestyle, doesn't want the travel, doesn't want the corporate. She wants to set up her own consultancy. So we're positioning her as an authority. For her, we're using podcasting. She's going to interview some of these great leaders that she's worked with. So that will position her as the expert with access to people who don't go to networking. Nobody ever gets to talk to these people. I'm so excited. No one ever gets to talk to these CEOs and global leaders, but it shows her in a public view as a person at that level. Which is the level that she's worked at. So for a consultancy, it attracts the right people. It attracts the people that are at the level that want to work with somebody with that experience, and it's fun. We're really passionate about it. It's fun. We're just in the planning stages for it, and so we're getting the graphics, getting the questions she's going to ask, and all that stuff. But it will be something that is completely different to what she's used to doing in the corporate world, but will suit the lifestyle that she wants to build now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's
So,
so cool.
it might come from a crisis of somebody who's feeling a little bit burnt out. I think she felt a little bit burnt out. So that stage where you're going, I've had enough of this. It could come from change. It could come from the fact that maybe you've had to go to work to pay a mortgage, support your children through university or college. And actually, now you don't. Now you can take a risk on your own, and you want to be able to have a different standard of life, or you don't want to be so corporate, or there's a million different reasons, but I think you just get to a stage where, I think I went through this myself, you get to a stage where you're like, I no longer want to be seen, I guess, as a coach, right? So for a long time, people see me as a coach. What I do is nowhere near what a coach does. I do so much more: brand development, business development, positioning, visibility, helping people to sell. A coach is just such a tiny, tiny part of what I do. And so I want to go, I even had a website, Debbie Bryan Coach. Look it up. There's loads of podcasts. So I want to really position myself to say, actually, I'm not just a coach. I am so much more. I can help you with your business. I can help you to franchise your business. I can help you to move into this new era, but feel
Yeah.
supported at the same time.
Oh, it's so good at what you do.
It's wobbly, giving up your old identity and stepping into this new identity. There's always a wobble. And there's always a bit where you just want to go, let me just go back where I was. That was safe and it's fine. And people are not talking to me, so they don't understand where I'm going. So yeah, that's the coaching bit, I suppose. I help people through that. I
I
love it.
love it. Yeah, I do too. I really love what you do. It's so interesting. And as a lot of the listeners know, like I'm also in this expansive pivot, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think when you do something for so long, like your experience of being a coach and your client's experience of working in aesthetics, it's a natural thing, right? We start to see like the hole in the market. Like she saw this open opportunity for all these
Yeah.
people that she's peers with right now to be able to help them because it comes natural to her, right? And it's allowing her to just fill that hole in the market that nobody else is maybe,
But
you
we
know,
are in that pivot position with her at the moment because people see her as somebody who does treatments. So they see her as somebody who trains the treatments. What they're not recognizing is the business side. Like I know for this particular client, I could put her in any business. Any business have to be that one because she has the business brain. You know, she has that. How do we make more money? How do we scale? How do we grow? And she's very brave in what she's doing. So I could pick her up and put her anywhere. We actually got her through to. I don't think. Do you have The Apprentice in the States?
yeah, we
So she
do.
got through to be, we got nominated for The Apprentice a couple of weeks ago. Didn't get through, got to the final stages out of 122,000. She doesn't talk about, she says it's a failure, which I see completely different. But in terms of people still have a perception of her in one way. She now wants to do some work in a different way. She wants to talk to people about their businesses, not just how you can do treatments. And that is a difficult area. It's a real grey area because people insist on still seeing you how you used to be. I literally put something on LinkedIn yesterday, and a guy I know who has a massive networking group, and I don't normally work with men. I was talking to him, and he said people are still seeing. So he's gone from just networking to elite networking. So it's very much more CEOs, C-suite. And he said, people still see me how I was 10 years ago. And he was actually taking 2 hours out of his day yesterday to sit and work through that very subject of going, how do I get people to perceive me where I am now?
I actually love this topic. I've talked about this with my coaches in the past, and they talk about it from more of a holistic standpoint, right? Of like the cycles and the patterns of life. And it all goes back to identity. What I found in my company as well is people know me as like what I was 2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And it's almost
Yeah.
like have to wait, for the catch up of the pivot or the expansiveness or the change and the shift to happen. And I personally think that's why so many businesses over in the States here fail because people are so not patient in today's
Yeah.
society, right? And
Well, there's two
they don't
ways.
want to wait.
You can either wait for everyone to catch up or you can go out and be really noisy about it. I can't, I go with B. I go with being really noisy about it. I'm like, get on the podcast, get the magazine articles, start writing for some of the business magazines like Authority. They're going to get you on Medium. All of those things, pretty much most of them are free anyway. But go and do that. Go and talk about who you're becoming. Go and talk about who you can help now, and talk about your journey of why you now are qualified to go and help people, because we start somewhere and people want to keep you where they start because it makes them feel safe. People are afraid of other people growing. They see it as like a they see it as a bit of a threat. 'Cause they're like, if you've moved on, then what's happening with me? I haven't moved on. I need you to come back here so I feel like we're both normal. And they don't want to see you. They want to drag you back down the ladder. And it's not something that's nasty. It's just safety. They feel safe if you stay who you are. But if we're true entrepreneurs, we never stay still. Some of the people I work with, I feel like sometimes they're racehorses. They're just off, and they've got that temperament as well with the racehorse. So if you it's up to everybody. I'm not forcing anybody. People, how this came about is people were coming to me and saying, Deb, I want to do this, and I'm like, but nobody knows you as that. And where it really came about in the last year. So I did a TEDx 2 years ago. Before that, I had a Who Wants to Listen to Debbie from Swindon persona for speaking. I was very unconfident, felt like nobody would want to talk to me. I'm not look like the male speakers, not young enough, not slim enough. I had all these stuff in my head telling me why I couldn't be a speaker. And so to combat that, long story short, is I thought, I asked people about speaking who are paid speakers. I had it in my head, didn't even know what I was going to speak about really. But I had it in my head, I wouldn't be a paid speaker. So I asked two people who I knew were getting paid. So one said, go and talk to the Women's Institute and the schools and the colleges. They will be brutal. And after a year, they might pay you. Oh, and get a show reel. So I was like, okay. And then the other one just said, I've spent 5 years going around the country, going to all these events I wanted to speak at. And if the speaker didn't turn up, then I was there. And I actually just thought, you know what? Neither of those sound attractive to me at
Yeah.
all. So I just thought, well, what can I do that can speed it up? A bit like snakes and ladders. So that's why I decided I would do a TED Talk. So I looked into the TED Talk, I applied for a TED Talk and got a TED Talk. So then I had to like drop the Debbie from Swindon. I still had a bit of going, can I be a speaker? Am I a speaker? Even if after I'd done the TED Talk. So I was still comparing myself to people who were getting 20, 30 grand for a keynote. But to say to myself, stop it, you've done the TED Talk. So after I shifted that identity to go, actually, you can be a speaker, people were coming to me and saying how they wanted to do TEDx's. And it's hard, I was very lucky to get, but it is hard. Some people have been trying for 3 years. Some people have applied 100 times, just weren't getting it. And then last year, I applied for the license to do the TEDx here. Very naive and on a whim. I didn't get it, but my partner that I was working with did get it as the license. And he chose some people to speak who he felt were prominent in our local town. And half of them turned it down. And I could not, for the life of me, understand why they were saying, oh, no, not for me. I don't want to do that. I'm not ready for it. I'm not there. And I kind of like took myself off and just thought, I don't really understand what's going on, because to me, such a privilege and it's such a wanted thing. People literally give a kidney to be able to just go and stand on this stage. And these people are just being picked and saying no. And I just blew my mind. So I kind of like listened to something and I realized that actually this identity thing started way back then to go, it's not about me teaching people to speak on the stage who already want to speak on the stage, because that's fine. That's semantics, that's just how you're going to speak. I needed to deal with the people who didn't feel like they were worthy of being on the stage, that didn't have that identity, that felt that they deserved to be on the stage or to be successful or to show up and be visible, that I needed to go back and do their Debbie from Swindon and go, that's where I used to be, and that's where I'm now, to really, really pare back and go, this is what the problem is, and this is the bit that I should be fixing for people. And then obviously since then I've got 15 speakers and I've been coaching them since June of last year, and just coaching them to speak on a TEDx stage is so different to what you normally do to speak and sell from the stage, right? It's like they're not allowed to sell. They're not allowed to sell at all. And so in terms of the opposite to what I normally do. So I've had to grow an extra muscle myself to go, right, no, don't sell, whatever you do, don't talk about money. So then you get into their stories, and then because they're talking about themselves, it's personal. And all of a sudden that little demon comes out, that Debbie from Swindon demon comes out of going, oh, I can't be the main character in my talk. I have to bring Harvard in as a connection. So I think it's a process of all those things that's brought me to this bit where I'm going, actually, I can help people to get to this stage. I can help people to transform from where they don't want to be, where they're no longer comfortable because they're feeling trapped and hemmed in, into something that is more exciting.
It's so good. It's so
answer,
great.
sorry.
Oh no, I loved it. No, it's perfect. Like that's exactly what I think our listeners will benefit from hearing too. Because in my own experience, right? Like I kind of feel like it's an identity lag. Like I almost have to fake it till I make it in a lot of these situations, because half of it we know already. Like if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, you may even have clients that say to you, I see all of these other skills that you're offering me that I'm not paying you for, right? Like that was what was repetitively happening, I'm sure, in your experience as well. It's like all of a sudden you're working on identity, right? When like they hired you to be more of a business coach or somebody to support them, like that's so much depth, right, to that work versus on the surface. The same thing happened for me. And it was like, maybe I should be listening to this. Maybe I should be open to it. And
I
even
think
now
for
when
you
I
to do
do
the
the work,
job, even for you to do marketing, it's for marketing is it's such a whole picture of the business,
yeah,
And if you don't get the business on board, you have to have an understanding of that business to be able to market them properly. To get
yeah,
effectively, you have to know what really is behind it. So I was in a thing today for referrals. It's quite interesting. And there was a lady there who she's got a great business, compliance, and she works with all here we have chambers of commerce. I'm not sure what you call them
yeah,
for you, but
we
she
do
works with
too.
12, right? So
Yeah,
she's doing really well. She's getting all these referrals coming in. And what the guy put on the stage said, this works really well, is that we rely on referrals for our business. I think it was that or something similar, but we use referrals for our business. And she literally went, I can't put that. I can't put that on there. I have a real issue with this. And I was watching her across the table. She was cringing. She's literally cringing. And they were like, well, it works if you put that. Why would you not? And I said to her, does it feel too needy? And she said, yes, it feels unprofessional and it feels needy because she's hiding behind this professional. I work with Chambers of Commerce, I work with compliance, something that was a little bit emotional and a little bit vulnerable to go. We work with referrals, so please give us a referral. Took her breath away, like literally took her breath away. So if you were to try and go in and market with that person who has that, and there's nothing wrong with it, she's doing well anyway. So, and she's getting referrals from the, she was probably the most successful person in the room in terms of referrals. But if you was to go in and try and get her to do marketing with that vulnerability in there, you wouldn't last very long because she
yeah,
would be, no, I don't like that. I'm uncomfortable with it. It's not a good, true representation of my company. So her identity was that she needed that professionalism, that the
yeah.
personal couldn't come into it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Such like a separation where I see business. The more that I work with clients, it's so one, right? Like
Mm.
everything affects everything. So we have to be open enough to ask those questions.
I have been
This
that
has been
person.
so
I
great.
have been that person. I'm sure we've all been that person. I remember inviting somebody to come to my home. She was staying nearby. She was turning up on a Sunday. It was somebody I coached, and I'm very private. I don't bring people to my house. I have at that time had a very clear work division, and in the end, I ended up inviting her for Sunday dinner because it was awkward not to, if I'm honest, not because I wanted to, because she wanted to lift this hotel. It was about 10 miles away. I either to just drop her and run. So she ended up coming for dinner. And then it was about 6 months later. And she said, I could not believe it when I saw you sat on the floor doing Lego with your granddaughter. She said, I was like, who is this person? And I'm like, I'm a mum of three. I now have three grandchildren. At the time I only had one. I was like, how do you not think that I don't get down on the floor and play with them or talk to them or read stories? But she just did not have that perception of me in her
Yeah.
head. She had two different people, and that's my fault to a certain extent. But she hasn't been. No, she has been invited back. She hasn't been back. But I was shocked that she felt like that person shouldn't exist because I didn't use that. So, and I was working in a different environment that was very masculine. I didn't even know about feminine and masculine energy at that stage. No idea. I just thought it was work hard, play hard. And I came away from there and actually was more myself. And I'm a very big advocate of being yourself, and being natural, because I'm very much like, I want to be the honey. So I want the bees to be attracted to me. And if I'm not
Yeah.
me, I'm going to attract the wrong bees. And then they're
Yeah.
miserable to work with. And we've all had clients where we go, we're not aligned. I've pretended to be something that I can do because I want the money, probably. And they're expecting you something, and it's always a clash. You always get
Yeah.
that person. So I think that identity thing, where knowing who the person is, knowing what their hopes and their dreams and their limiting beliefs are. This lady had a limiting belief, I guess, but knowing those things make you a good marketer, make you a good, I can't do a transformation unless I actually know what the person really wants deep down.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to get to the core root of it. Right. And like in this situation with my clients of the fractional CMO, I'm feeling the same way. I'm totally myself. Like yesterday, I'm there presenting their new website and we're all joking and laughing about like bugs and like because they're
Yeah.
landscaping company, right? Like it just feels so right. It feels like I can be myself, which removes
Hmm.
a lot of the fear that comes with stepping into the identity because I don't feel like I have to be someone that I'm not. I more so just have the pressure of like providing, right?
Yeah.
Standing on what I'm supposed to be doing, like doing my job, which seems so much
It
more
takes away the
doable.
imposter. Yeah, take away the imposter syndrome. Take away this whole I need to. I think a lot of the time, especially for women, we feel like we have to play in a man's world. We feel like we have to be masculine to be able to compete. You know, I have a phrase of like quietly brilliant women in the workplace, and it is the women that just go on and get on with their work and they do what they do. They're not promoted. They fix everything. They do 10 times the job of a man, and that's I have a program for that as well to kind of say like how do you recognize these people and make them seen and heard. They don't speak up in a boardroom because they're worried about, you know, and they either have to come in and be one of the lads or just stay quiet, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is for us as women, we have a lot of imposter syndrome. We're like, we're not doing that, we're not doing this, might have done maternity leave, might have to leave for the school run. They're all things that society are telling us that is a weakness, but actually we do 10 times what everybody else does. 10 times.
Yes.
I know you haven't got children yet, you've got an animal, but we were talking about caring for parents and stuff. Is like, well, it's always the woman's job. You
Yeah.
know, it's always that.
Always
And so
doing
I,
everything.
yeah, I want my clients to come away from that just coping and just doing what they think that they should do because that's what everyone else thinks that they should do. Come and do something exciting. Come and do something
Yeah.
that lights you up and gives you a spark and puts the joy back into your life. And then come and be you, like
Yeah.
not somebody else, not who everyone else thinks that you want to be, the person that you really are underneath.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It really is the truth. It lights up so many people. And I actually
Mm.
find, like you said, it makes them more magnetic, like that honey,
Yeah.
right? People crave to be around that energy. Like I find the clients that I'm attracting now, like now that I'm 30, right? And I went through my 20s being an entrepreneur and figuring out who I am, like going back to the identity. Now that I'm like, okay, this is what you get when you work with us, whether
Yeah.
you're on CMO side or you're on our agency side, here's how we operate. Like either it works for you or it doesn't, and that's okay. And it feels so much more firm, right? And instead of being so like willy-nilly and in the
Yeah,
flow,
because
we can
otherwise you
make
bend
that
yourself out of
work.
shape to try and fit the client. You're like, oh, I'd be this person for this person, be this person for this person, and then you don't even know who you are anymore. But they equally don't know who you are, so they don't know
Yeah.
what to expect. They don't know what it is. So if you just show up, because someone said to me, like, if you don't show up as yourself, the honey, you will attract bees because they will, you know, the ones that should be magnetized to you won't
Yeah.
recognize you.
Yeah.
And I think we've all had that. We've all had clients that we've taken maybe at a necessity or maybe thinking, oh, we can work with this person. I've got the skill set. But they come to you thinking you're something different. It just clashes. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to put a show on all the time. You get resentful because you're like, oh, I've got to be this person for this person. This person's not claiming it. And it's all down to, like, without going too wood, but it's down to the energy. If your energy is wrong, you know, you're
Yeah.
repelling each other. It's a very short term thing. And most of my clients that I work with for a long period of time, not necessarily because we have to, just because they
Yeah.
want to and they feel supported. And I'm much happier with that than I am churning clients, you know, even if it's higher ticket and I had a client 6 months and they're gone, and then 6 months and they're gone. I'd rather have 10 to 20 long-term clients
Yeah.
that I work with and that I can see that transformation and support. Because the minute that you start to transform, the minute you start to leave that old life and you're going towards the new life, your body starts to go crazy and you have a wobble. One of my clients just did finish. I'm crying before I go in the shower because things are not working, things are not going. I was like, okay, let's have a meeting today. So we had a meeting today and I was like, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's just because your old life looks more comfortable, but you don't want it. You don't want that comfort. So now you have to go, I'm going to have to step into this life and leave it behind. You almost burn yourself down a little bit. But then I said to her, like, can you give me a list of like 20 people that you've worked with? Absolutely love you, have paid you. And she said, yeah, no problem. So I said, look, I'll go and phone those 20 people and see if they have any work for, or if they can refer you to somebody who's interested. Just got off the phone buzzing because I reminded her, you want to work 4 days a week, you want to move house, you want to only work with people that you like working with, blah, 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 all these things that you wanted to do and all these things you don't want to do, because we've gone through an exercise to find that out. And I've made her write it down so I can remind her and go, okay, this is where the wobble is. If you want to go back to here, but this is all the stuff you told me you don't want.
Yeah.
You don't want a full-time HR job. You want to move forward. So what we've got to do is go, how do we make that happen? And so that's kind of the support that you give. So for her, yeah, she was writing it down before she got off the call. She's like, yeah, I'll call those people. And I said, are you intimidated about? No, it's fine. I can call them up. What should I do now? Type thing. And so it's that transition, helping and supporting that transition, because I said to her, do you want to change your mind? What you wrote, this is what you told me. If that's not where you want to be now, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I'm going to remind you of what you told me. So
Yeah.
sometimes I think that's where it sits, of going, I'm going to remind you that you want to do this and that actually you don't want to go back, even if it looks like the comfort option.
Yeah.
And it's like it in anything, if you're exercising and you go into a class and you're doing something in a class, and each time the instructor, if you've got a good instructor, each time they're like, go on, put a little bit more weight on, do a little bit more, that's where the growth comes. That growth is not always comfortable.
Yes, it in fact is actually very uncomfortable. I just said this to my husband before I left for my in-person meeting yesterday. I was like, maybe I should have stayed where I was, right? Like, because your nervous system is just like, what's happening? This is so new. And like, we used to just be able to like chill all day behind a computer and not have to like see anyone in person. But now I love it, right? Like the second that I'm there, I love it. And that's what I think people, if you're listening to this, obviously connect with Debbie. We're going to get to how you can connect with her in a few moments here, but really think about, where are you in your life maybe not being fulfilled? And how can you start to test things? Like if you don't know what your next identity shift is, or how you want to level up your identity with Debbie, maybe it's about time to explore that. Like I wouldn't have known if I was going into an office how much I loved it. And I'm only there sometimes for 45 minutes, but I'm connecting with people, I'm making impact on the community, and especially the business. I see it happening. That's so much more rewarding than me like being in my house trying to figure out if I'm making an impact with my clients.
And looking
right.
at stats and looking at figures and all that sort of stuff, you're literally getting the feedback. I'm the same. I was saying to you before that I have a client that I go 2 days a month. So I travel and I go 2 days a month, and so much more is done. But I am really a face-to-face person in terms of, if I go to a networking, I pretty much always come home with a new relationship. I've been to one this morning on referrals, which is why I was hot on my client for referrals probably. But I've been there and there's a couple of people, one that wants to do TEDx, somebody else is like, oh, I really want to connect with you. And I just feel like I get a real energy out of that. I don't mind working from home, but sometimes you have to, you just get in your own head and you get in your own way a lot of the time. And it's hard because you overthink, we'll wake at 4 o'clock in the morning with the head spinning and stuff. And there's many times that I've gone, oh, I just can't get a job in a supermarket. This is especially, as we were talking, Caitlin, earlier, especially last year when my mum was ill. She's in and out of hospital. She had dementia. She had like manic behaviour, and I wasn't being supported by my brother and sister because they had jobs. And a little bit of me was like, just go and get a job in a supermarket where you're just paid and you don't have to think. And I used to say that to my kids, and they'd be like, Mum, you go crazy in a minute. Not even just having to do things at certain times would be too much for me. So when I would go to this other business for 2 days, that was like it was an escape. It was lovely to be in the branch, but also with the fractional stuff, like the fractional marketing that you do, you can go in, do your stuff, have a little bit of a jolly, get a cup of coffee, deliver results, get some feedback and get out. You don't get into the politics. You're not sucked into the everyday and all that kind of doom and gloom. I know when I go into a business, I know it's happening, but it's not for me to solve. And I love that it's not for me to solve. I've had my own businesses with 26, 30 staff and that was put me off staff forever.
Me too.
But it was
I
a
think
lot
about like those big
people,
teams. Right.
Managing their boyfriend, getting rid of it and stuff. And I sound really heartless. But I've been there, done it. I've had hair salons, I've had beauty salons, I've dealt with that type of thing. And it just isn't something that for me, that one-on-one, working one-on-one with somebody to bring out this transformation is like so rewarding, just so
Yeah.
rewarding to see this person going, oh my God, I had this in me that I was too scared to bring out. I had
Yeah.
this person and this lifestyle that I kind of dreamt about, but never thought it could happen to me, and weren't brave enough to take the steps, or were brave enough but didn't know how to do it, like literally didn't know how to make that change. Or it's just, I find it fascinating. I find the
Yeah.
psychology of people fascinating. Probably why
Me
I'm doing the
too.
TEDx, because I'm fascinated by all of their stories. But even there,
Yeah.
there's some amazing stories that come out. But it's watching that process of them going from, let's just say, a politician who's used to standing on the stage and having a moan about the system. My two things I ask the TEDs, and anyone that's speaking or having to do anything, I suppose, is this is my question. I'm not allowed to swear, am I?
You
So I
can.
just say to them, okay, so I will say to them when they start and they've got like 10 different things in their story, everything, it's all packed in. They only got 12 minutes, but they want to pack in their whole life story, where they're born, this subject, this subject, this subject. And I say to them, so this one guy was talking about heritage, and he was moaning about the lottery didn't give money, and the local councils didn't give money, and the investors didn't give money, and so therefore it was left derelict. And I said, you need to tell me why I should give a shit about that building.
Yeah.
Like, you have to tell me and the audience why I should actually give a shit about this building, because I don't. I've driven past this derelict building for most of my life. Then
Yeah.
he started to tell me about the building and what it meant. And it actually was, it was called the Mechanics Institute. We're a railway town. And it was the first place that they did TEDx style talks outside of London in the country. It was
Cool.
a place that did learning and upskilling the workers, and was a university for the workers that came here, and lots of other things. I'm like, okay, now I understand, right? Now I
Yeah.
understand why you're passionate about this building. I get it. And now I know loads about it I never knew before. So then my next question is, what do you want me to do next? What do you want me to do? What's my call to action? It's very much like marketing. Okay. So when you're speaking, when you're trying to explain something, when you're trying to sell something, tell me why I should care, why I should give a share, and then tell me what my next action should be. Am I going to go away inspired? Should I do something? Should I change something in my mind? Should I? And I think, again, that's a transformation of like how people are perceived to, like, no one wants to listen to people moan on the stage, right? No one wants to listen to people moan full stop. So if I can help them to do that transformation in their talking, to inspire somebody to go, and actually, this guy has been contacted by the Lebanon to help Heritage on a steam train track.
So good. It's
Yeah,
so good. Yeah.
like,
Like, who knows what can come out of
yeah.
this,
So he's
right?
been
And
contacted by someone
especially,
who's going, I understand what you're doing there. Help us to do this, because we're really passionate about that. So if you can make people be passionate about the thing that you care about, and then you can tell them, this is what I want you to do next.
yeah.
Maybe, whatever reasons, it's either, I've got one that's talking about domestic violence against women, but it's from a man's point of view.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, and it's from his daughter was sexually assaulted, and she was the main topic of the story. Okay, she was like 15 at the time it happened, and she'd gone home, and she told her mum and her elder sister, and they were like, "Oh well, you're just lucky it hadn't happened before." And it'll probably happen again. And as a dad, he was horrified that they
Yeah.
just accepted this sexual assault. That it was just like, it wasn't, I don't think it was full on, but I think somebody had touched her inappropriately, like a fun fair or something like that, right? And he was like, no, this can't be. Why are you all accepting it? And so he then so I said to him, he's then got into more and talking about it. I said to him, do you really want your daughter, if your talk goes viral and a million people see it, do you want your daughter to be in front of a million people's TVs? Would you want her
Right.
to be the face of that? So we had to kind of go back, but I understood what his message was. His message was, he used to have a big call center. It's still called call centers for you, isn't it? And he said he was really proud of the fact that he would put the football on and, let all the staff watch the football, and they turn the phones off and they do all this stuff. And then someone told him in a women's refuge that the calls go up during an England match by 79% for a women's
Wow.
rescue
That's
domestic violence.
crazy. Oh my gosh,
79%.
Debbie. That's
Yeah.
wild.
And he
Well,
was
I'm
like,
so sorry, but I do have to go in 2 minutes, and I just want
okay.
to make sure that I can include your call to action. I just don't
Well, I was
want to
going to say,
cut
so
you
he's
off.
trying to do it from a man's point of view, So it's just bringing those stories up. My call to action is, if you want to transform yourself, if you're thinking that you are not happy in the identity you've got, then come and have a call with me. I will give Caitlin a link where you can just book a call on my calendar. My website is debbiebryan.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Debbie Bryan Hobby Coach. I haven't rebranded that yet. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of them. At debbiebryan.com, there's a booking on there. So come and have a free chat.
Yay. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry again. I was like, oh my gosh, the time. I just
No,
didn't
that's
want to
fine.
have to like
I've got
end
15,
the
15
call.
speakers. I could go down a rabbit hole on the TED. I'm so passionate about it.
It's perfect. And for all of our listeners, Debbie, like, can we follow along on these stories of the TED Talks that you're talking about? Will you be sharing them on your
Yeah,
profiles
I will
too?
share them on
Okay,
my
perfect.
social media. So they won't come out. It'll be a while. So just come and follow me on LinkedIn, Debbie Bryan. Come and follow me on LinkedIn, and then as and when they're released and the speakers are there, we will put the links on there so that people can go and find them.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It was so good to catch up, and I loved having you on the show. And I'll
It's
see you
been a
very
pleasure.
soon.